Hello everybody and welcome to another book haul. I just did one of these, but today's book haul is an extra. It's a freebie. It's a completely guilt-free book haul and I'll tell you why. A couple of weeks ago, I had a very bad, no good day. It was just a real low point. I was extremely upset. The world seemed awful. I was frustrated. And in the mail on that day, I got a refund check for something that happened 2 years ago. So it's like the universe said, you need some free money with no strings attached today. And of course, I spent it on books. And specifically, I went on a spree of impulse purchases from Book Depository because you guys know I am in love with the SF Masterworks and the Fantasy Masterworks that Golance puts out. And I have special wish lists on Book Depository to track which ones I want. Usually I say that I won't buy them unless I absolutely must try them or I've already gotten them for free from the library and I've read them before. But this time, no strings attached. I completely ignored my book buying rules and I got some stuff, so let me show those to you. I got my own copy of Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I read this at the tail end of last year and it wasn't my favorite, nor do I think it's Jane Austen's best, but it was entertaining and I think I liked the movie version quite a lot too, the more recent one. It was saucier, I guess, than the book seemed to me at the time. I want to own all of Jane Austen's novels in the Penguin English Library editions, so I'm slowly buying them. I still have to read Persuasion and Mansfield Park, and then I will buy them if I really want them. They're the ones that interest me the least, so they're the ones that I haven't read yet. This is also very short. I'm gonna make an effort to tell you more about cover artists in this video, but I think everybody knows, if you know anything about the Penguin English Library editions, that all the cover designs are done by Coralie Bickford Smith, and many of them are gorgeous. The patterns are always very cool, but my running complaint is that sometimes the colors clash or readability is low. Like on this one, it's a dark gray text on a dark pinky coral or whatever. It's difficult sometimes to make out text. Next is All That Outer Space Allows by Ian Sales. It's book 4 in the Apollo Quartet. No, I haven't read the first 3 books, but this is a book I grabbed because Mark mentioned it to me and said, oh yeah, you could probably read it without reading the first 3 books first. By the way, Mark has his own channel now, so if you want to go check him out, do that. I quite like his taste in books and I'm trying to read more things that he talks about. If I start this book and then am completely confused, I will go back and I'll get the first 3 books first, but from the description on the back, it sounds like it's kind of standalone. It's about a female science fiction writer in the 1960s. Her husband is an astronaut, and I believe it's probably going to be about how she is, as a woman, restricted from her areas of interest during this time. It says, although the realities of spaceflight fascinate Jenny, her gender bars her from the US space program. Her science fiction offers little consolation, but there is perhaps something she can do about that. It's a very short book and it has some interesting formatting inside. There are some sections that have multiple columns. I don't know why it's formatted that way, so I'm quite interested to read this and find out if it's got other media inside of it or something. And I really like this cover. It's very minimalist. The orange is very pretty. There's like a planet or a moon on the back. And I don't know if you can really see, there are people with their shadows behind them, and one of them, their shadow kind of goes over the text. I just like this. The cover art is by Kay Sales, who I assume perhaps is related to Ian Sales, but I'm just making a huge assumption there. Okay, on to the science fiction masterworks. This edition of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams is a hardcover SF masterworks. I didn't really know that these existed. I knew that there have been some, like in the past, like Dune by Frank Herbert was released on hardcover, and I thought it was a one-off thing until I saw that a bunch of new titles were being printed in hardcover, or at least they look like they're new on Book Depository, and I had never seen one in person, so I ordered this one. The first 3 books in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Adams are available in these hardcover editions now. They're about, I don't know, half an inch taller than the hardcovers, and also about, I don't know, a quarter of an inch deeper maybe. I'm really bad at judging measurements, but they will fit in the same space roughly that the paperback versions do, which matters a lot to me because I get I get these because they look so awesome lined up with the spines, and they are matching on the shelf. Aesthetics, you know, but if I'm gonna buy them special, I want them to look nice. Everybody knows what Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is about. It's a completely ridiculous science fiction parody, basically. And this, so, okay, I finally paid attention to the cover artists for the SF Masterworks. My thought was that, like the Penguin English Library editions, a single person would do all of these, like, all of these are done by Coralie Bickford Smith, but this doesn't seem to be the case for the science fiction masterworks. This says illustration by timmars.co.uk, which is a website address and not a name, but I'm going to assume it's by a guy named Tim Mars. And it's kind of a collage style, I guess. It's pretty nice. It's very much what I would associate with a Douglas Adams book. Slow River by Nicola Griffith is the other book in the SF Masterworks line that I want to get. I have spoken about Ammonite by her. I have very high praise for that book. I enjoyed it so much, and I'm going to try to read all of Nicola Griffith's novels. I'm supposed to be reading Hild right now, but I haven't made much progress in it due to other distractions. But I wanted to have Slow River on hand when I wanted to read it because I think I'm going to really like this. The story is about a woman who appears to have fallen from grace from a powerful family, and she's taken in by somebody else and reinvents herself. The cover art on this one is by Vincent Chong. I don't like this one very much, to be really honest. I'm gonna assume that the cover refers to like multiple identities of the same woman or something, but I don't like it very much. It doesn't appeal to me. Floating Worlds by Cecelia Holland. At this point you can tell, as I have also mentioned to some people in comments, that I am working my way through all of the science fiction works by women in the SF Masterworks line, and I just went ahead and I bought a couple that I had my eye on, but I don't necessarily know much about the authors or the works, and this one is one of them. It is about a woman who is an intermediary in some sort of space war. The Stiths, a powerful and aggressive mutant race from Uranus and Saturn, have been launching pirate raids on ships from Mars, and an Earth committee is asked to negotiate a truce, and that task falls to Paula Mendoza. And apparently she adopts an unconventional approach during her negotiations. That's all I know. I believe this was recently mentioned on the Coode Street podcast, or something came up and somebody said it was really fantastic book, and it's the only science fiction novel that Cecelia Holland ever wrote. It is a chunker though, like it is 650 pages long, I think. Yeah, it's quite long, so I hope it's a good read and I can get through it quickly. This cover art says it's based on an illustration by Dominic Harmon. I don't love it. It has a very retro 80s vibe to me, which is probably when it was written. Next is Time is the Fire, the best of Connie Willis. I now own all the SF Masterworks by Connie Willis. I have read some of the stories in this because it's a collection. Almost all of the stories in this have an afterword, which I think is going to be really nice. I like having an introduction or an afterword by the author that gives context for the story, because if you don't read them in their original publication at the time that they were published, you don't always know what they're in conversation with or what sparked them, or you read them out of order with another series of stories, and when you read them in a collection like this, it can be hard to understand where the story was coming from. I think it's quite different from just picking up a novel and reading it, because a collection of stories can jump around from all different points in an author's career, and that can make it an interesting reading experience for one, but I just really like knowing more about the story, especially if it's an older story. So I am also looking forward to this one. I wouldn't say it's high on my list of things to read at the moment, but it has a lot of award-winning stories in it, and it has been a while since I've read something by Willis. And the cover illustration on this one is by Christopher Gibbs. So you see what I mean? All the cover artists or all the illustrations are done by different people, but this artist, this cover reminds me a lot of the design for Her Smoke Grows Up Forever by James Tiptree Jr., so I'm tempted to go see if the same person did that. I believe I mentioned just a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about The Gate to Women's Country by Sheri Tepper that I was going to be reading a third book by her, and that is Beauty. This is in the Fantasy Masterworks line, and this is a time travel-y fantasy science fiction-y retelling of Sleeping Beauty. I'll read you the back of this one. On her 16th birthday, the Princess Beauty sidesteps the sleeping curse placed upon her by her wicked aunt. Yay, go Beauty! Only to be kidnapped by visitors from another time and place far from her castle in 14th century England. She is taken to the world of the future, a savage society, of course, where even amongst the teeming billions she is utterly alone. But as she travels magically to places both imaginary and real, Beauty eventually comes to understand her special place in humanity's destiny. Sounds like it's a very epic scope for a story loosely based on Sleeping Beauty. And honestly, that premise sounds more interesting to me than either of the science fiction books that I've read by her, so I'm hoping I will enjoy this. And this cover illustration is by Sam Green. I don't know how well you can see it, but it looks like pencil art. It's very soft, so that's interesting. The final thing is Lord Darcy by Randall Garrett. This was my absolute #1 impulse purchase. I barely even read the blurb before I added it to my cart. I just really liked the cover art. My favorite color is red. This looked very, I don't know, Victorian or Edwardian. I was like, that sounds like an interesting idea for a fantasy novel. The cover art is by, oh my goodness, I don't know how to pronounce this name because it looks like it's Polish, perhaps? Gregor, I'm not saying this correctly, Domardzki? If you know how to pronounce that, please let me know because I'm not sure how to pronounce Z's like that. I'm going to read you the back of this as well because I read this when I got it and said, I need to read this right now. Welcome to a world where the Plantagenet kings survived, the laws of magic were discovered, and the physical sciences never pursued. In the resulting Anglo-French Empire, a detective like Lord Darcy needs more than a keen mind and an observant eye. Luckily, Darcy can call on the aid of Master Sean O'Loughlin, a forensic sorcerer. Like, this has a forensic sorcerer in it, guys. This is an omnibus, which is why it is so massive. It's over 600 pages long, and it also contains a novel, Too Many Magicians, which is the only Lord Darcy novel. These stories were published from the 60s to the 70s, and I have never heard of the author or the Lord Darcy stories before. So if you've heard about these or you read any of them, please let me know what you thought of them because it's a big fat mystery right now and I really need to read them. Those are all the books. I'm not as crazy in this book haul. I'm a bit tired or it's later in the day, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope I didn't forget to tell you who any of the cover artists are because I was gonna make a special point of doing that in this video. And if any of these sound interesting to you, please let me know down in the comments and I will talk to you again later. Bye.